Hi, I'm John Stevenson, and we're going to be looking at the building of the Tabernacle, Exodus chapters 35 through 40, in our continuing study of the book of Exodus. The whole book of Exodus starts where God meets Moses, and Israel exits from Egypt with the 10 plagues. That's chapters 1 through 13. And then they get out of the wilderness, and we have that rebellion period where Israel rebels, they complain, and God continues to be with them. And finally they get to Mount Sinai, and the law is given, the covenant laws, the commandments, the stipulations. And next in chapters 25 through 31, we have the commandments for building the tabernacle. After that, there's another rebellious issue that takes place, and the golden calf, and Moses intercedes for the people. And finally, we come to the last section where the tabernacle is built, and at the end of it, God's going to enter the tabernacle. But notice, there were a lot of chapters given over to the commands for the building of the tabernacle, and now there's quite a few chapters given to where those commands are carried out. They're followed. In chapter 35, we have the mobilization for the building of that. There's a call to rest in chapter 30 and verses 1 through 3, and then contributions are brought that are going to supply the actual construction materials. There's a call to action in verses 10 through 19, and then a movement of the Spirit as God's Spirit moves the people to come and to act. In Exodus 35:21, we read, "Everyone whose heart stirred him and everyone whose spirit moved him came and brought the Lord's contribution for the work of the tent of meeting." And finally, there's the raising of skilled workers, verses 30 through 35, so that we read of Bezalel, and the Lord says, "He has filled him with the Spirit of God, in wisdom, in understanding, and in knowledge, and in all craftsmanship." Now Bezalel and Oholiab, and every skillful person in whom the Lord has put skill and understanding to know how to perform all the work in the construction of the sanctuary, shall perform in accordance with all that the Lord has commanded. There were certain people, and no doubt they learned their craftsmanship in Egypt, and now that's going to be used to serve the Lord in the construction of the tabernacle. And all the skillful men who were performing all the work of the sanctuary came, each from the work which he was performing, and they said to Moses, "The people are bringing much more than enough for the construction work which the Lord commanded us to perform." So Moses issued a command, and a proclamation was circulated throughout the camp saying, "Let no man or woman any longer perform work for the contributions of the sanctuary." And thus the people were restrained from bringing any more, for the material they had was sufficient and more than enough for all the work to perform it. When was the last time you saw a ministry? I've actually seen this. When was the last time you saw a ministry saying, "Stop bringing contributions, we have way too much, just keep your money and stop giving"? And that's what happened here, where they put a call. We have enough, don't give any more, stop giving. And now all of those accoutrements, the Ark of the Covenant, and the table of showbread, and the lampstand, and the laver, and the altar of incense, and the altar which is on the outside, the bronze altar, all these are brought together and assembled as the tent of meeting itself is assembled. So the sons of Israel did all the work according to all that the Lord had commanded Moses. And Moses examined all the work, and behold, they'd done it, just as the Lord had commanded it. This they had done. Notice how many chapters were given over to this. Chapters 35, 36, 37, 38, and now at the end of 39. And what's happening as we hear the story is that suspense is building up. You see, all the commands had been given many chapters earlier, and now for a number of chapters, we have them all being fulfilled. And now, chapter 40, "Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, On the first day of the first month you shall set up the tabernacle, the tent of meeting. You shall place the ark and the testimony there. You shall screen the ark with a veil." And Moses does all this in the first month, on the second year of the first day of the month. It's been an entire year, and now the tabernacle was erected. And Moses erected the tabernacle, and laid its sockets, and set up its boards, and inserted its bars, erected its pillars. He spread the tent over the tabernacle, and put the covering of the tent on top of it, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. This is the climactic section of the entire book. This is what the whole book of Exodus has been building toward, where they come out of Egypt, they come before the presence of the Lord, they come to Mount Sinai, they're given the law, and now as they build the tabernacle, God enters the building. And Moses was not able to enter the tent of meeting because the cloud had settled on it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Throughout all their journeys, whenever the cloud was taken up over the tabernacle, the sons of Israel would set out. But if the cloud was not taken up, then they did not set out until the day when it was taken up. God is going to be leading them now in their journeys through the wilderness. For throughout all their journeys, the cloud of the Lord was on the tabernacle by day, and there was fire in it by night in the sight of all the house of Israel. You know, as we've looked through the story of the Exodus, we saw in Moses oftentimes, and we looked at him and we were reminded that there's a better Moses, a greater Moses in the New Testament. But we don't end on that note. There's Moses, and then there's the Lord who is in the tabernacle. And we come to the New Testament where we see not just the greater Moses, but we see the one who tabernacled with us. And we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten Son of God, full of grace and truth. In Jesus we have the one who tabernacled with us, who is the tabernacle. And the very Spirit of God is within him.